Hello, everyone. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really plan this one too much, so I have no idea what I'm about to say in this video, if it's going to make sense where this video is going to take us. Um, so we're going to get into it and we'll see how it goes. And so, me making this video, I would say, is a huge step. Um, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this, just some of the things I have learned over the past few months about myself and how I navigate challenging times, and just a lot about my life. And so today I'm going to talk about my experience being laid off. And I know that that's something that a lot of people, specifically in tech, and other corporate companies, not just tech, are navigating right now. And, if that's you and you're watching this video, please know that I see you. Please know that I hear you. Please know that I value you. And please know that you are doing the best that you can in this moment. And so just to start I'm going to start by talking a little bit about my layoff story. And so I was laid off technically November 21st. But I had negotiated some things with my company. So technically, really it happened on November 9th. And so I woke up that morning. So just to give you a little context, I worked at just like a pretty small tech company. I previously worked in higher education, and I wanted to leave higher education. Honestly, I wanted to make more money, and I kind of already knew. I knew at some point I would leave higher education and go work in corporate. Like, that was something that I knew I was going to do at some point in my career. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. And so there were so many things happening at my old job that I was like, all right, it's time for me to go now. And so the company I worked for reached out to me on LinkedIn, and they gave me an opportunity to join them, and join their team. And, I'm forever grateful for them because I did not have any experience in that specific sector. And so my layoff story, I had been at the company for just about 2 years. I was about to hit 2 years. And it was November 9th, like I said, and I woke up that morning and I was kind of already on the downfall. Like, I was already actively job searching, applying for jobs, looking for something new. The company had experienced, reductions in force pretty consistently. A lot of senior leadership had left. A lot of people of color had been laid off. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall. It's funny, I had just got back from Afrotech the week I was laid off. And so it was that morning. I woke up that morning because I think I didn't have coffee or milk or something. And I'm just one of those people that I have to have my coffee in the morning. So I woke up at like 7:30 a.m. and drove to Whole Foods and went to Whole Foods, got everything I needed to get and came back. It was probably like around the 9 o'clock hour at this point, and I'm like making breakfast. And I specifically remember I was putting like chicken sausages in the air fryer. And I received a message from one of our senior leaders, and she just dropped me a link, a Google Meet link. And she was like, "Hey, Chelsea, can you hop in this meeting?" And I didn't think anything of it. Truly, like, I had things I needed to get done that day. I had tasks. So, that's typically routine behavior for this person. So I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe they had a question, maybe they needed something. So I didn't think too much for it. So I was like, sure, give me one moment. Went to my computer, went to my office, closed the door, hopped on. So I hopped on, and literally as soon as I hopped on, it's funny because if you all use Google Meet, I saw that there was someone else on our senior leadership team in that meeting before I joined. Again, I didn't think anything of it. Given my job, I was often asked questions about things. I was often asked to do things ad hoc, so I didn't really think anything of it. And so I joined, chipper as ever, and I'm like, "Hey, good morning, how are y'all doing?" Just like normal Chelsea kind of behavior. And then the senior leader for my team, she starts clearly reading off of the script, And she's saying, you know, Chelsea, we as group, you know, we've been experiencing some challenges across the business. We've been facing headwinds, blah, blah, blah. Your role has been eliminated effective immediately. And I just remember like my head started racing, like everything started racing, like I was just like everything started racing. I literally, I think I might have blacked out. Like I feel like I was having an out of body experience. Like I heard what she was saying, but like I didn't hear what she was saying. You know, she's talking about severance, she's talking about all the legal stuff, and I'm again just completely like confused. And it's strange. I was confused, I was chaotic, I was blindsided, but at the same time, I was relieved. I was so relieved. I was like, thank God. And I just felt like, you know, I was in a position at the time where I wasn't feeling super excited about what was happening and just needed something new. Needed to, just was ready to move on. And it's funny, the night before I was talking to, at the time I had, you know, I was dating someone and I was talking to him and I was telling him like, you know, I wished I could just have like a paid vacation from this job. And I literally feel like I manifested it like the next day. That's basically what I got. And I was really relieved. I think that, you know, being laid off in that way was traumatic because it's just something that I was surprised how they did it. No one knew. You know, they always tell you, oh, you're going to put an 8 a.m. meeting. No, it was just literally like sprung on me. You know, my manager didn't know. No one knew. No one knew. None of my teammates knew. My teammates were really surprised when it happened. And so, yeah, it was tough. I would say, so I have never, you know, I've always had a job since I was 14. Whether it's fast food, whether it was a job when I was in college, I've always been making money. Like I always knew when there was a check coming, and I'm also very thankful that I've been pretty fortunate to where, you know, I've had money coming in and I've also been really smart about it. So for me, I was really grateful that I was, you know, given the resources to like navigate this time. I think what was hard for me truly was I never knew, I guess I never really knew how much, I would say my like self-worth was very much tied in being able to like, I guess like provide for myself or be independent. I think that that's something that I realized that like just having that agency was really important to me. And just feeling stuck. Like I was feeling stuck a lot of the time because, you know, I wanted to make plans for my next step. I wanted to make plans for, you know, buying a house and all of these things, but just did not feel comfortable doing so. And so without, you know, having a job. And so I feel like I went through kind of a roller coaster through my layoff experience. You know, part one was just like relief. Like it was relief and shock and sadness. Part two was just like kind of dark, I would say. It was kind of dark. You know, one thing I shared with some of my friends was like Mondays were really hard for me. I think that we talk about Sunday scaries a lot. We talk about Mondays and how we dread them. Every Monday when I woke up was a reminder that I just did not have a job. And so Mondays were the worst days of the week. I think every Monday of that season of my life, I feel like I think I stayed home. I don't think I left ever. Like I think Mondays were just miserable. I did not feel the urge to leave the house. I could barely even have the energy to shower. Like I was really struggling. And so that was something that I realized. And I felt like Tuesdays would be better, Wednesdays would get better, and then once Thursdays hit, I would feel a lot better because I think it was just like the weekend. And so my mental health really was challenging during that time. And I think even one thing I learned about myself during that period of my time too is I realized that I don't like to be perceived as inferior, whether that's financially, emotionally, I don't like to be perceived as less than. So I had a hard time being honest with my community about how I was actually feeling. When people ask me how I was feeling, I'd give them oh, okay, like I'd give them a little bit of feedback about how I was feeling, but I don't think I was ever truly, there was very few people. I could say one person, and she knows who she is because she's probably watching this. It's probably the one person I was most honest with about how I was feeling. And at that point, I had hit my peak. Like, I had hit my peak with just like the frustration of it all. And so my mental health really struggled. And I think what kept me was community. I think, what kept me was continuing to move my body and exercising. And what kept me was faith. My faith was huge. I was in the word, like, really very much, going to church and prayer and like engaging my spirituality in a lot of different ways. Still going to therapy. And really also working on my entrepreneurial endeavors was also something that kept me during this period. And I also even got a certification as well. So still feeling like, still trying to do things just to keep myself afloat. I kind of talked about that a little bit about what I learned about myself. I talked about just like struggling to feel, I don't like feeling like I'm inferior. And that's one thing I really learned about myself through the season. Like, I really struggle with like that. And you know what it is? It's like struggling to be feeling like I don't want to be perceived as less than. But it's really not. What I learned is it's not that people are perceiving me as less than because I don't have a job. It's I'm projecting that that's how they're feeling, right? I think that was one thing. The other thing I learned about myself that I really have trouble asking for help. I struggle with asking for help. That's just not. I think it goes back to not wanting to put myself in a vulnerable place or be inferior. So like that was really hard for me, whether it was reaching out to somebody and asking for a referral or whether it was, asking for a resume review. Like, I had a really hard time admitting that I was struggling. And because of the shame that I had associated with the whole experience. Honestly, I didn't really tell anyone I got laid off. My really close friends knew. And I'm sorry if this is the first time you knew that I got laid off and you're watching this video. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was my really close friends who knew and my family who knew that I was laid off. And so that was really rough. And my family too, they also were, just like so supportive, and really always checking on me and asking me how I'm doing and like providing words of encouragement and prayer. They were also really helpful in that part of my journey too. And so I think just to kind of like wrap things up, I think that this was so happy to share that I have secured a new role. And 4 months of unemployment. It was almost 4 months of unemployment, not quite 4 months, but almost 4 months of unemployment. It was challenging. It was hard. It was not something that, I could have anticipated for myself. I think that a lot of people have become very numb to layoffs, and even to the point where they're like, oh, this will never happen to me. I think that one thing I learned, even me at some point, I was like, oh, they're not going to lay me off, right? Completely wrong. Like, I don't wish that on anyone, but I think it reminded me, like, we all need to be diligent and that these companies don't owe us nothing. They don't owe us nothing. And you could be the most liked person. You could, deliver the most, most impact. That doesn't mean anything. Like, I think that I kind of learned a little bit more about how to navigate the corporate space. I learned the power of community and faith. I think if I have to sum it up, community and faith are the two things that kept me moving during this season. And even like me, this new role that I'm about to start, I got because of one of my friends that I've known for a very, very long time. So I think it was like, closed mouths don't get fed, and advocating for myself and just really allowing myself to be vulnerable, and really speaking up for myself and letting people know what I need when I need it. I think it was a really hard period, and I haven't started my new role yet, and even like I haven't, and so I don't know, I don't know what this next journey is going to be like. So I think I'm still kind of in that period of being laid off and unemployed. I haven't worked in almost 4 months, and so it's going to be a huge adjustment for me. And yeah, I think, again, I'm hoping that if you are someone who has experienced being laid off, and this is something that you have experienced, I just, and you're still looking for work, man, I am praying for you. I applaud you for showing up every day because it is hard. Um, and it's rough out there right now. The job market is really challenging. It's not a joke. And I'm just really thankful for you. And you got to, and keep moving forward. It might take some time, but I believe in you. Thanks for watching.